All right, this is a video tutorial on how to create the hamburger layers. So we're at photop.com, so go ahead and go there. And then once you get there, you're going to go to File and go ahead and do New. Now we're just focusing on this left-hand corner. That's all we look at. So go ahead and name this, so your last name and then hamburger. And then next, you want to make sure, like this step is pretty important, make sure you change pixels to inches. Inches, and then the width, we're going to go ahead and do 5, and then the height you can go ahead and do 7. You don't need to do the decimals or anything. DPI is dots per inch, so the quality of your project, and we're going to, it's at a pretty low quality right now, we're going to change it to 200. That's pretty standard. Don't have to change the background, you could always do that later, and then click Create. Okay, so we have our canvas here, and to zoom in as you're working, if you're on a PC, you do Control plus on your keyboard, or if you're on a Mac, you do Command plus, and you can zoom in and out of your canvas. You're going to use that all the time. If you're zoomed in, another helpful tool is this hand grabber tool so that you can move around the canvas. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out, and then there's just one more thing you could also do. If you want to change, if you decide you don't want your canvas to be like this portrait, you can go to Image and then Transform and rotate it 90 degrees. That's just for any project in general. Okay, so we're going to get started. This is the layers bar over here. So what's really nice about Photop and Photoshop is that you have layers and you can edit each layer individually, and it won't affect your other layers. So it's really nice when you're working with a lot of things going on in the image, and you can edit each one again individually. And then we have our history brush bar here, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. So in the layers, we have our background. We're going to leave that be. Down here, there's a little piece of paper that looks like it's folding up. If you hover over it, it says New Layer. Go ahead and click that. And we have a new layer that appears in the layers bar. Go ahead and double click here and name this bottom bun. Press enter. So now we are on this layer. It doesn't look any different. It doesn't change anything, but you want to make sure you are on this layer right here. So now we're going to go over to the toolbar, and we're going to create the bottom layer of our hamburger bun. So we are going to use the brush tool. So when you hover over it, you have the brush tool, or on your keyboard you can see the shortcut key says B. So if you are, on whatever tool, if you just click B on your keyboard, it automatically switches to the brush tool. So that's a shortcut key that you can use anytime. It's just a little bit faster. Okay, so we're going to choose the color of our brush. So right here in the bottom left-hand corner, there's two boxes. You're going to click the top box, and then you get this color picker that comes up. So I'm going to find a hamburger bun color, so maybe like a more tannish color, and then you have to click OK. So then OK, and then to make your brush bigger or smaller on your keyboard there, right above like the enter button, you are going to press the brackets. The right bracket is to make it bigger, the left bracket is to make it smaller. That's a shortcut key, or you can go over here and manually drag to change the size of your brush, but the brackets are a lot quicker. So I got my brackets, and then go ahead and click. So click once and you have your circle for the bottom bun. Okay, so now we're going to add just a small detail piece to this bottom bun. Make it just one size smaller, and we're going to change the color to be just slightly lighter. Again, this will just be a detail piece of our bun, and then click again. So we've got just a little bit of detail. Okay, so that's our bottom bun layer. Pretty simple. We're going to go over to the layers bar and create a new layer. We're going to name this patty. So this will be, I don't care what you create, this can be a ground beef patty, chicken patty, vegan burger, whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and do a ground beef patty, and I'm going to change the color. I'm still going to use the brush tool, and I'm going to change this to a darker brown kind of ground beef color. Okay, I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller, and I will click, and then I have my patty here. Again, make sure you're in the correct layer, because if you're putting things in the wrong layer, you can't fix it, or you can't edit it separately. Okay, so we have our very simple hamburger right now. I'm going to show you how to add some more details to it. So we're going to change our brush. So up here at the top left-hand corner, go ahead and choose one of these skinny long brushes. So here, you can change the size here, but you can also change the direction that your brush is with this thing. So if you click and drag, you can change the direction what that brush is facing. And then you can click that drop down arrow again and it'll go away. Then with your brackets, again, you can change the size. And if I click, it's the same exact color as my patty right now. So I'm going to go ahead and make this just a slightly darker color. And I'm going to do some grill marks. So I'm going to press that and maybe vary the size. And I got some grill marks here going on. Okay, so however many you want, and again, you might have a chicken patty, whatever. And then I'm going to go ahead and change my brush again. So I'm going to go back to that original one I was using, and I'm going to add some seasoning, maybe slightly darker, just some seasoning, maybe some pepper, some steak seasoning, maybe variety of sizes in the circle, and then maybe I'll even do, you know, some other type of spice that's slightly lighter or something. So again, that's kind of up to you how you want to do that, but just a little bit of detail on our patty. Okay, so we have 2 layers so far, technically 3, but we're just looking at the 2 right here. We're going to add another layer, and we're going to name this lettuce. Okay, so this is our lettuce one. We're going to learn a couple new tools again. So we're going to stay on the brush tool for now, and we're going to change this to a green lettuce color. So choose from the color picker some type of green, and I am going to start just creating some organic lines. Now, this is just the outline of the lettuce, so just something like this, and you want to make sure wherever you started your lettuce, it ends there, so we connect that together. So again, make sure that connects together. We've got this organic lettuce outline. Now you're going to learn a new tool. Over here in the toolbar, we have it looks like if you hover over it, it's the gradient tool, or G is the shortcut key, as you can see. So the gradient tool kind of hides the paint bucket. So if you click and hold down on the gradient tool, switch to the paint bucket. And you can see it's a little mini paint bucket icon. You're going to go inside your lettuce outline, click once, and then click again to totally fill that in, so you don't have to use your brush to fill in, so it's a lot faster. Okay, we're going to add some more detail, so I'm going to switch back to the brush tool. I'm going to get a slightly lighter color. Click OK, and we're going to create some veins for our lettuce. Again, just to get some detail in there. Okay, say you mess up and you're like, oh man, I drew outside of the lettuce. On your keyboard, you're going to do Command Z or Control Z to edit, undo. Or in your history bar over here, you can just click above and kind of go back. So it gets rid of that, and it's like it never happened. So I'm going to just keep making my little veins here. So again, that tool to edit undo is Control Z or Command Z if you're using a Mac. Okay, I am going to get a slightly darker color now. You don't have to do this, but just for details, just to make it kind of look a little more realistic. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this. You can spend as much time as you want, so you can pause my video and keep working on this. Okay, next thing is, if you are unhappy, say I'm unhappy with the size of my lettuce. I want it maybe bigger, or I don't like the angle of it. We are going to learn about the move tool, which is something you're going to use all the time. So at the very top of the toolbar here, you can see the shortcut key is V. the move tool. You're going to select the move tool and make sure auto select and transform controls are both checked. Then you should have this bounding box appear around your lettuce. So you very rarely are going to grab from the sides. You are always going to grab from the corner, but you have to hold down shift. So say I want to make my lettuce bigger. You have to hold down shift on your keyboard and then pull from the corners so that it doesn't mess up the ratio. So let me show you what happens if you don't hold down shift and you grab from the corner. It warps it. So I'm going to do my Command Z or Control Z. Go back and again hold down shift to change the size without messing anything up. Okay, you can also just click on the lettuce and move it around, shift it, or you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to slightly nudge it, if you can see that, slightly moving. And then lastly, if you go outside of the corners here, you see these little like bent arrows. You can just move that around. So if you're not happy, and then again, it's not affecting any of the other layers, which is nice. Okay, so I want that slight angle there. Okay, so that was the move tool that we just talked about. All right, the next thing, we're going to create some tomatoes. So go ahead and name this tomato. And we're only creating one. And actually, personally, my tomatoes will be closer to the patty than the lettuce. So what I'm going to show you, in the layers bar, you can click and drag your layers. So this layer is going to be underneath this one in like the order. So if in the layers bar, if it's at the bottom, then it's underneath everything. But if it's at the top, that's on top of everything else on your canvas. So I'm actually going to turn my lettuce off so it's not distracting me. So that little eyeball right there, I'm just turning that off for now, and I'm going to start on my tomatoes. So if you don't remember what a tomato slice looks like, you can look up images. I have that up here just for a reference. And actually I'm going to use the brush tool for this, and I'm going to change to a red color. And let's see, I want to find one that I like. Okay, so I'm going to make my brush big. And I'm only going to make one because I'm going to show you how to duplicate this tomato a couple times. All right, so I'm on my tomato layer. I'm going to go ahead and press down. And then I am going to switch to a slightly lighter color of red because I'm going to do some of these little detail things. So if you can see, there's like a weird shape within that. I'm going to do that really quick. Go ahead and do that. And I'm going to show you a little tool after I do this. All right, I'm going quick so it doesn't look that good. Yours will look a lot better than mine. All right, so the new tool I'm going to teach you now is called the Smudge Tool. So on your toolbar, there is a little water droplet looking tool, the blur tool. If you click and hold down, we're going to switch to the Smudge Tool. So we're going to blend this out a little bit so it's not such a hard line, and we want to make this look a little bit softer. So this kind of mixes, so you have to have two different colors, and that mixes it just a little bit so it's a little bit softer. And you're going to do that around your whole tomato. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do the whole thing. All right, I'm going to show you how to duplicate this to make your life a lot easier so you don't have to create a bunch of different tomatoes. You can just copy this. So go ahead and switch to the Move tool. Make sure you're on the tomato layer still. So I can move this around, but I'm now going to copy it. So on your keyboard, if you're on a PC, it's going to be Control-C, Control-V. If you're on a Mac, it's going to be Command-C, Command-V. So go ahead and do your command. So we're going to copy it first. So Command-C, and then I'm going to do Command-V. And it should copy over. So it doesn't look like it did anything here, but in your layers bar, you can see I have tomato and then tomato copy. So if I go on top of this, I can click and drag this over. And you can change the size. So I'm going to hold down shift. Maybe this is a larger part of the tomato, and I can also turn it so it's a little bit different. And then I will make another copy. So Control-C, Control-V, or Command. And then I have 3 tomatoes. All right, cool. And then you can see if I turn my lettuce back on, it looks like that. I am going to merge all of these together. So how you do that, because we want this to all be one layer, just to make everything easier. click the top copy. So in your layers bar, click the top copy. On your keyboard, hold down Shift, click and hold down Shift, and click the last copy. So you can see it highlights all of these tomato layers. I'm going to right click and merge all of these together. So now when I use the Move tool, it moves this as a unit. So that is helpful for you. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you is we are going to create some cheese. So go ahead and name this cheese. And there's a new tool that I will teach you. So I'll put the lettuce back, turn that on. All right, next tool is the rectangle tool. So that is down here, shortcut key being U on your keyboard. So go ahead and select the rectangle tool. Up here, there is this fill. This is the color of your rectangle. So when you create a rectangle, you click and drag and it creates the rectangle. I don't want red. So you could, I believe, go back through and change it, but I'm just going to change it from the beginning so you can do your Command Z, or you can just go back here. So I have the fill color stroke, just ignore that. We'll talk about that later. The fill color is going to be a yellow color. I'm actually going to do Swiss cheese. So if I double click on the color here, the color picker comes up and I can get more specific with the yellow color that I want. Okay, let's find one that I like. Those are kind of ugly. Okay, let me see here. I'll just stick with this one. Okay, I'm going to do Swiss cheese. So I am going to now click and drag to create my rectangle. And there we go. All right, so we have our rectangle here. It's a perfect rectangle. What we need to do next is there is a little picture right here. We are not going to be able to create or make it look like Swiss cheese if this little rectangle is here. So what to do to get rid of that is right click on the layer and you're going to rasterize this. So that just makes it easier to work with. All right, I got my cheese. I want to make it look like Swiss cheese. So I am going to switch to the eraser tool. So the eraser tool is right here, or you can click E on your keyboard to switch to the eraser. Same as the brush tool, you can use your brackets to change the brush size of your eraser. So I'm going to go ahead and just click, and you can see it's erasing, and you can see right through to our other layers. And I'm making this little Swiss cheese piece look more realistic. I don't care how many holes you do. And I got my Swiss cheese. Okay. Very cool. So I got all my layers, and maybe you want your cheese closer to your patty. I don't know. However you do it, you can change the layer order in whatever way you want. Okay, so that is actually all the tools I'm going to show you for this project. You need a total of 7 layers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers right now. You need at least 7. Feel free to do as many as you want. So if you want to do bacon, you want to do a layer of ketchup, you want to do a layer of mustard or barbecue sauce, you need to make at least 7 layers, and you choose, and then you want to include that top bun as well. When you are finished, you need to make sure, so as you're working, you will save it as a PSD so that you can continue working on it in the future. But if you are done and you're ready to turn this into Google Classroom, you are not going to save it as a PSD. You're actually going to do export as, and either one of these, either a PNG or a JPEG, PNG is higher quality, either of these you're going to save it as. So I'm just going to go ahead and do JPEG and click save, and it automatically saves to your downloads. Sometimes it gives you the option of where you want to change it. From your downloads, you could either, it's up to you, you could click and drag this to your desktop, or if you go to Google Classroom, that didn't really work, I don't really know why. Or you can go to Google Classroom and just upload it from your downloads. And I will not accept a PSD file on Google Classroom, so it has to be the JPEG. So the PSD saves all your layers and everything, but the JPEG file, if you were to open it, there's only one layer and it condenses it down. It's just a smaller file and easier for me to look at. So that is the Hamburger Layers project. Again, 7 layers, and save it as a PNG or a JPEG and turn it into Google Classroom when you're all done.